So this video is to help those that have got a Sherco 250 or 300, where it's a factory or the R models, whatever. If you're maybe having some trouble with your power valve, maybe your power valve's not opening or closing or something like that. This bike is a 2024, so it's also going to work for the 2025, and it's probably going to work for older models, previous models that have the electronic valve actuator. So some of the symptoms that you may be noticing with your bike is that maybe down low, you know, the bike's running really well, but as you get up into the higher revs, into the power band, there's just no power up there. Like, there's just nothing, it just falls flat. I've also seen that some people have said that their power valve may be stuck open, so maybe they've got heaps of power up top but just absolutely nothing down low. So that might also be a symptom you know, caused by this as well. The first thing that you can do is hold down the engine kill switch and just tap the starter button, and you should hear a little click or a little motor kind of servo movement in there. You'll hear like a little click and then a little whir, a little buzz type sound. So just give that a try first, and that will tell you if the power valve actuator is actually working at all. So that's the first thing you can try. Next, remove the 3 bolts on the actuator cover. Cut the cable tie that's holding on the cover. The shaft on the power valve actuator is what turns the actual valve. Now, you can grab a pair of long nose pliers and just verify that your power valve is actually moving freely. So carefully put it in there and twist it left and right, nice and free. Next, what you can do is visually confirm that the actuator is turning. So start the bike up and twist the throttle, and this should turn in sync as you twist the throttle. If the bike is warm and you know it's at a good operating temperature and it's still not doing anything, well then it's likely that there's an issue with this, or maybe an issue somewhere else. So let's jump into that. So if your actuator is not working, what you want to do is unplug it. So now that you've taken off the actuator, the next thing to do is check the wiring in the wiring harness going back to the ECU. So next we'll take the tank off and we'll have a look at that. So rip the seat off, undo the bolt that holds the fuel tank on, undo the fuel line, take that out. So we've got our power valve actuator here on the bench. We've taken it off the bike, the one that's not working. And before we go and spend, you know, 420 bucks Australian for a new one of these, we want to confirm that the wiring is actually working correctly. So as you can see, I've got some probes here, and I've put some copper wire around it just so I can get into the actual plug, because the plug is actually quite small. So we've got plug number 225 here. This is the plug that goes into the back of the actuator, and then the wiring goes all the way back to the main plug that goes into the back of the ECU. So if we follow the right numbers and the right colors, it'll give us the pin out. So then what we can do is we can get our black, for example, put it on there, and then put it on black, and we should hear the, and this means we've got continuity, which means, you know, the electricity is passing through there correctly. There's no breaks in the cable. So do this for all the colors, for all the 4 wires, and then if that's good, well, the next thing is to move on to the actuator. So I've got a brand new one here and a damaged one. If you're interested, you can open these up with a heat gun, get a razor blade in there, cut it all apart very carefully. When you do finally get it apart, it needs to come apart exactly parallel, you know, exactly like you're splitting an engine case. It has to come perfectly apart, otherwise you'll damage it. That's what it looks like on the inside. On this particular one, I think this one has about 40 hours on it, and I think the rubber seal has failed, because if you smell inside of it, it smells like petrol and 2-stroke, and I think that's what's damaged it. The PCB is covered in quite a thick lacquer, And you can see, you know, you've got a magnetic strip here that controls a Hall effect sensor, so it tells the motor where to move. I believe that is pulse width modulation. It doesn't actually send any data back to the ECU. It's only a one-way type thing. Now these units, they're not made by Sherco. They're made in Germany by a company called Berger Group, I believe. They're basically exactly the same as the ones used as an exhaust actuator for a BMW. So if you look up BMW exhaust actuator, you'll see exactly the same thing. Now, I haven't been able to verify and test a BMW one to make sure that they are exactly the same. They do come in different pin models, 4, 2, 3, 6. Now, if you've verified that your actuator is working correctly, like this one is now, we can get rid of that old one. We know that this is a brand new one, we know it's working. We've checked all our wiring, but the bike is still not running correctly, so it's still not you know, getting into the power band, or it's stuck in the power band, or maybe the thermofans aren't running correctly. They're, you know, either staying on or they're not turning off. The next culprit you could probably check out would be this little guy here, and this is the temperature sensor. So basically what this is a little sensor that gives feedback back to the ECU and tells it you know, what temperature the bike's at. So whether the bike's you know, cold, whether the bike's warm, or maybe the bike's overheating. This does control the fans. So if you've verified that your wiring is working correctly, your valve actuator is working, you know, maybe it's not working correctly, but maybe you can see that it is turning on and turning left and then back again. Maybe there's nothing wrong with this, and it's potentially your temperature switch. So let's jump into this little guy. Now this little sensor that screws into the back of the cylinder head, he's really important. Now this is a damaged one. This one wasn't working and causing all kinds of problems. The one in there now, that's a brand new one. So I've downloaded this again from the Sherco manual, and this just basically tells you how to check the sensor. So basically you hook up a multimeter to it, you can dip it in hot water at different temperatures, and it should read out the correct resistance. So let's say at 25 degrees, you know, maybe room temperature, you're going to have a resistance of 3,000 ohms, all the way down to, you know, nearly boiling, 90 degrees C, you should have a resistance of 278. So what you can do is get this little guy, get your multimeter, hook it up to each pin, make sure they're not touching obviously. So we've got our probe set up, we've got it's reading the temperature. We've got cold water here just to show you guys. You can also use a laser temperature measurer. We've got our other multimeter hooked up to our switch, and that would go in the water to give us our value. So you don't want to put this in the water any deeper than the black part, because then you'll get a false reading. So it only just needs to be in there. So this particular one here, I've confirmed that it is damaged. This was in the bike and was making the bike not run properly. It was also doing weird things. Even when the bike was cold, the fans would turn on and off randomly, and the bike wouldn't get into power band. And so we ordered another one of these, put a brand new one in, and it fixed all the problems. Now you can see there's a little metal, I guess you'd call it a spring in there. Just push underneath it and pop it up. That's what it looks like. And the plug should slide straight off. You can also check in here, make sure there's no corrosion, and you can also go back through your wiring harness, back to the ECU, and check for continuity too, that there's no damaged wires as well. Once you've confirmed there's no damage to the wires, you can remove this guy. But before you do that, you need to drain all the coolant out of the engine. So crack the nut down below near the water pump, let it all drain out so there's no water in it. I'm not going to do it. It's really easy. You should know how to do that at your age. Now once you've waited weeks and weeks for Sherco parts like I've had to, install the new one. Don't forget there is an aluminium washer on here that seals it, and you'll also need this stuff. I picked this stuff up from Bunnings. It's a high temperature water and gas sealant. Just a little bit of that, you don't need too much. just to seal it, and you'll be good.